Hey, welcome back to Dad Life Chess. This is Joel. Thank you for watching this video. It's been a little while since I've recorded a video, and really, full disclosure, I kind of found myself in a chess funk at the beginning of this year. I don't know if they've ever experienced that. If so, let me know. Maybe I'm not the only one. Put that in the comments. Hey, before I jump into this video, if you are new to the channel, please do subscribe. It helps out the channel to grow. That would be greatly appreciated. Just hit that subscribe button if you would. If you've been following this channel for a while, you know that I played in a tournament right after the Christmas holiday, the North American Open in Vegas. Had a wonderful time at the tournament, but unfortunately didn't do the greatest. Matter of fact, I had not a great performance in the tournament. I still plan on recording videos going over those games, so don't worry, I'm not trying to avoid them. It just took a little while for me to go over the games with my coach, and now I still need to do some analysis on my own. And hopefully we can all learn from my many mistakes at that tournament. However, after that, the New Year stuff going on in life, family, our whole family ended up not escaping the Omicron variation. And so that kind of knocked us out for a little while. But I found myself in a little bit of a chess funk. And oftentimes when I get in a funk, I just, I don't know, I just end up playing blitz, not really do anything productive, which is not the healthiest thing when it comes to chess improvement. And that's really what I think most chess players want, is we want to improve. We want to get better at chess. And so huge thanks to my coach to kind of help me see a little bit about what's been going on, as well as give me some advice. And so once I realized, hey, I'm just in like this chess funk, I got to do something to get out of it. And this happened before where I'll just play a lot of blitz. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to take my coach's advice and I'm going to be working on my new black repertoire for this year. My coach recommended me changing up some of my black openings, specifically really trying to encourage me to play the Caro-Kann as well as the Queen's Gambit Declined. And so once I realized, hey, I'm in a chess funk, I got to do something to get out of it, I said, you know what, I'm going to focus on learning a new opening and practicing that opening online. Stop playing blitz for a while and play rapid games, rapid training games. So that's what I've been doing. Now, as fate would have it, at the beginning of this year, or actually the end of last year, International Master Christoph Selecki came out with a phenomenal course, Keep It Simple for Black. He's done a Keep It Simple 1E4, Keep It Simple 1D4. I've never really studied those courses, heard amazing things about it. However, when this course came out, I said, hey, I'm going to buy it. It took me a little while to get it started, but I can say this, and this is not an ad for Chessable. I do use Chessable pretty much every day. Love it. Great platform for learning. However, this may be one of the best courses I've ever purchased on Chessable. International Master Christoph Selecki does a wonderful job explaining the material. He really gears it towards the club player, the adult improver, so to speak, right around really my level. I think this is a phenomenal course. So I basically took the advice of my coach, and that's kind of what I've been doing to get out of this this rut, this chess kind of funk, as I was calling it. And I've basically been working on the lines on this course, watching the videos, trying to understand the material, and then practicing them in online training games. So this game I actually played a couple days ago. I was playing on my iPad. The kids went to bed. I was just sitting on the couch, playing on my iPad, and actually it was quite an interesting game. So I thought I'd go over it with my channel and see if it's instructional for all of us. Anyway, my opponent played e4, and I said, well, now's the time to not play my Scandinavian, which I oftentimes play, and it's almost like on autopilot. I just move d5, right? Well, I decided, you know what? Let's do it. Let's get some training games in. So most oftentimes they played d4. My opponent did not, however, play d4 right away. Played knight f3. Now this kind of signals the two knights variation against the Caro-Kann, which is actually a pretty dangerous line. I don't know a lot of the theory, basically just kind of learning as I'm going, trying to play principal chess. Well, I decided, hey, the reason why we play c6 is to play d5 the next move, get control of the center. They can play something, a little bit offbeat. They can try to kind of like transpose into an advanced variation. I was expecting knight c3 here to get the 2 knights, which actually kind of a dangerous. There's like some trappy lines. I realized I've learned recently. If you're brand new to the 2 knights, this is what you don't want to do. Okay, you don't want to take here, go here, and when they play queen e2, you're like, oh, you know what? I'm just going to develop my pieces, because that right there is checkmate. Beautiful smothered mate. That is something you don't want to have happen in your games, unless you're playing white, and then you would love for that to happen. But if you're learning the Caro-Kann from the black side, not the greatest. So I did know that. I was like, well, that's not going to happen in this game. So I played d5, and then my opponent took my pawn. I was like, okay, well, we're going to basically maybe get like I played d4. I thought, well, maybe we're going to transpose into a Panov attack and, get something like this. And we get the Panov-Botvinnik attack, which I'm not the greatest with as well. I'm new to all the variations of the Caro-Kann, so we're learning as we go. I didn't know what we were going to expect, but my opponent played d4, I played knight c6, and then my opponent played knight c3, which is not the greatest move. Blocks in his c-pawn. It's like a bad variation of the exchange Caro-Kann, which they oftentimes play bishop d3 coupled with c3. It almost gets kind of like almost like a London style structure. Sometimes the bishop comes out here. So right now I was like, this does not look like the greatest opening choice. Right here I could play bishop g4 right away. I opted for knight f6. My opponent played bishop g5. I think was thinking, what, maybe going to get me to block in my light square bishop. I decided no, I don't mind these doubling of the pawns. I can even take here. If I bring out my bishop, I think I can just take with the e pawn or even the g pawn. I would imagine it's okay. Yeah, either one of those are fine. Stockfish says, and if Stockfish says, we believe it. That's how we roll. So my opponent didn't take. My opponent just played bishop e2, basically, getting out of the pin. I play e6, getting into a pin, but I'm just going to develop my bishop the next move. And then my opponent castles. I play bishop e7, and then my opponent plays bishop e5. I didn't really understand why the move bishop b5. I was like, you can take the knight. I'm okay with the pawn on c6. I don't mind just pushing that pawn. So I was like, okay, whatever. I'm just gonna castle, and then my opponent went back. Basically, my opponent's just giving me some tempi here. Perhaps my opponent knew I was going through a slump in my chess and said, you know what, you need a little bit of help. And that's probably what was going on. So right here, I actually missed a tactic here and the next move. It's a little bit better than the next move, so I'll show you. I played h6. My opponent, I was expecting to just take. My opponent went back here. And right here, I actually missed a clear tactic to win a pawn. And if you want to pause the video, you can wait and see if you can solve it yourself. If you played the Caro-Kann or these kind of structures, you probably see it like immediately. And I don't know why I didn't spend a little more time. We're doing fine at this point. I have 9 minutes. My opponent has 9.5 minutes. We're basically like blitzing out these opening moves here. And so I could have taken. The pawn, the bishop, and then right here, boom, now I'm on both of these, and really there's nothing that my opponent can do to stop me from getting at least one of these pawns. And really it's the d4 pawn that I'm after. And something even like this, there's actually this wonky line where I can play here, and then boom, I'm basically up a piece. Yeah, of course I've kind of exposed my king, but a piece is a piece for sure. So yeah, my opponent and I both missed that, evidently. Maybe my opponent saw it, and that's why they did what they did. The next move, instead of taking here, I ended up playing queen b6, putting pressure, not realizing that my opponent can just play knight a4, kind of putting the question to my queen. I thought about just moving back, but I thought, okay, he's going to go here. I didn't really want that kind of stuff. So I thought, well, I'm just going to see what my opponent does when I play queen a5. they end up playing c3, which was not the worst thing because basically now the retreat square that my opponent had is gone. So I thought, okay, it's not the end of the world. I'm just going to get my rooks centralized. They played b4. I thought they're going to probably go back here. I played, I played queen c7. Then they played knight c5. Knight c5, I didn't think did a whole lot. So I thought, okay, I'm just going to kick the knight out. Then they played back to knight d3. Now, they are controlling e5, and so maybe I thought they were going to try to get their knights in here somehow, do something. I decided to play knight e4, attacking the c3 pawn. And my opponent takes here, which is actually a blunder. And unfortunately, I did not make the correct move because I did not actually follow up with the right plan. I kind of almost immediately take back. I thought for, about 15 seconds and I took back here. But in reality, I have a killer move, and that is takes here. I could also take back with the knight, again putting pressure on this this pawn. Both of these are good. I played the worst move, which is rook takes e7, completely missing the in-between move because not only am I on the queen and the bishop, this is with check, and so I'm going to be... Stockfish already gives us like a crushing advantage for black. Now, I ended up playing rook takes e7, and then my opponent played rook c1. I put more pressure. I'm basically trying to pressure up on that pawn. Now, my opponent in this position decides to try and eliminate the pin, and I don't know what they were thinking, but they ended up playing knight back to d2. And really, the threat is obviously here. I got to do something. The most obvious capture, which is the best capture, is here. And then my opponent takes here. At this point, I kind of stopped and I was like, there looks like there's just something in this position. And I was actually able to find what is the best move. And Chess.com review gave it a double exclamation brilliancy, which I was like super excited about. It's a really cool move, probably one of the best moves I've played in recent times because I was able to calculate. I was like, you know what? If I take, my opponent takes back, this works. So you've probably already seen it. You probably already see it already. But it is knight takes c3, double exclamation point. Such a fun move to play. The point is, this rook, if they take the bait, boom, I'm completely allowing my opponent to take my queen, but I take back with check. I get this, and look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 versus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm an exchange and 2 pawns up. So I played knight takes c3. My opponent sees that I can't just... they can't take this knight. They see the problem because I'm going to take on d4. And even something like this, knight takes d4, and anything that my opponent does, I'm just going to take back here if they don't take my queen. And this is the crushing advantage. Matter of fact, Stockfish already gives it like -6 or 7 for black. Matter of fact, before, right in this position, knight takes c3 is already -4. Anything else is like -0.6 or something like that. So crushing advantage at this point. My opponent ends up playing queen e1. Now right here, actually that was a very tricky move because there's only one move in this position that keeps the advantage. And I was able to find the move. It's not that hard to spot, but basically if I retreat, if I just do something like this, my opponent actually can play a4, and now this is a problem because I take here and then they have this, and I'm basically forced to go into something like this, this, and this. And really, actually, white is doing a little bit better in this position because if you think about it, white is up a piece for a couple pawns, and Stockfish evaluates it about equal, but this is not what I wanted to find myself in. So my opponent, by playing queen e1, tricky move. However, I was able to play knight takes d4. Again, these knights are working together. Still can't take here because I take here easily with the queen. And not only that, I'm threatening this fork on the king and the rook. So my opponent plays the best move, king h1. And in this position, I could actually still play here, and these knights just work perfectly, just kind of holding on to each other. But at this point, you know, I'm not down too far in time, but my opponent has a 2-minute advantage because I was thinking for a little while. And so I thought, you know what, I'm just going to move my queen out of the line of this rook and not have any problems. My opponent played queen e5, which is a really good move, basically putting the question to this knight. I knew I had to do something, so I ended up playing knight c to b5. And then they played a4, thinking that they're going to ruin the coordination between my knights, but I had been able to calculate that I could play knight c6. Knight c6 is actually a little bit of an inaccuracy. I had the move f6, thanks to Stockfish for pointing that out. And this move actually allows me to move my knight back here, because the queen's gonna have to do something. It's gonna have to, if the queen, excuse me, the queen goes here, then I can just take here, takes back with the rook, and then I can even just play e5, and I'm gonna be able to coordinate my knights better. But I did play knight c6, getting a tempo on the queen, and my opponent plays queen g3. I was able to play this here. And then my opponent played b5, I played knight a5, and then my opponent played knight f4. So at this point, my opponent's kind of going for a desperado. I'm down on time. I only have 2 minutes left. My opponent has 4 minutes. My opponent was doing better on time, really, for the rest of the game. And so I was trying to find the easiest way to simplify. So I want to exchange off some pieces. I play rook e c7. When you're up material, you want to exchange down. So my opponent takes, I take back, and then my opponent, I took back with the queen. Apologize, took back with the queen. And I'm also kind of X-raying the queen here. Anytime the knight moves, I'm going to take back. And if I can exchange off the queens, life is good, right? My opponent didn't allow that, so they played queen g4. I play queen c2, putting question to this knight. Better move was actually queen c3 in this position. Didn't play that. Ended up playing queen c2. Again, I'm a little bit down on time, getting close to that 2-minute mark. My opponent plays knight h4. I mean, knight h5, obviously with a threat of checkmate. So I say, not going to happen. I played knight f5, stopping that. This move doesn't really do a whole lot. There was actually a move in this position that both my opponent and I missed, and I think it may have really changed the game a lot. It is knight takes d5, opening up the threat on my bishop, my knight. And in this position, you are worried about this kind of thing right here. And the best move for black is actually rook d8, and I can guarantee you I wouldn't have seen that. I would have probably taken, and then takes back, queen here. This is actually, it's still better for black, but it's not a quick and easy win. So my opponent missed the threat of knight d5, was going for checkmate. I was able to block that with knight f5. They played knight f3. I played rook c4. My opponent plays queen h3, trying to keep the queens on the board. I played this move, queen e4, and right here, I just want to like exchange the queens. I'm down to 1 minute and 20 seconds at this point. You know, I just want to get the queens off the board and do something to be able to win this game. My opponent plays a tricky move, which is the fork of the rook and the queen. However, there is a move in this position that wins the game for black, and thankfully I was able to find it. I fork both of these pieces. Obviously cannot take here because that is checkmate. And Actually, at this point, my opponent resigned because there's nothing that they can do to stop me taking one of these pieces. Really, you're going to expect something like this, and then after that, the game is pretty close to being over. So my opponent did actually resign right after Queen E2. So it was a fun game. Matter of fact, it was an important game because up until this point, like I said, I've been playing a lot of blitz. Not the most healthy thing when it comes to chess improvement. And I needed a game like this to kind of re-inspire me, not only for to keep going and to keep trying to train, but sometimes when you see something beautiful or you're able to play a brilliant move, it gives you that little bit of encouragement. So I don't know if you're finding yourself in a chess slump or if you're discouraged about your chess improvement. Hang in there. Keep doing those things that you know are the best and most healthy thing for you when it comes to your chess improvement, chess growth. Play the rapid games, study calculation, do whatever it is that inspires you and helps you to grow and get better at this amazing game that we all enjoy. So anyway, thanks for watching this video. I wanted to share that move, mainly knight takes c3. That was one of those moves you're like, wow, I actually saw it, was able to calculate. It felt great and reminded me why I enjoy playing chess so much. It's a beautiful game, very complex. It is hard at times. Matter of fact, it is always hard. But hey, that's why I think we pursue this this journey. So, hey, thanks for watching the video. Please do like, subscribe, send me a comment. It's always encouraging if you write a comment, and that always helps out. So, hey, hope you are having a wonderful new year. For me, my New Year's resolutions are starting now. So whether you're starting your New Year's resolutions January 1 or February 1, it's never too late to get back in it, right? All right, hey, thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching Dad Life Chess.